Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is Wednesday, and it is noon in the Central Time Zone, and it's time for another session of Wednesdays with Wayne. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days to join us. Same format that we always have. I'm going to talk for today probably about 45 minutes or so, 45, 50 minutes, and then we'll open it up for questions. But as always, if you have a question during the time that I'm talking, please either raise your hand and ask it, or in the Q&A or in the chat, we'll turn your microphone on, or you can type your question in either way, and Maddie will get that to me. I do really sincerely appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know it's a very, very busy time for us in life between graduations and kids getting out of school. And this is historically the time that we think the real estate market starts to kick in. But guys, let's be honest. I mean, I talk to people all over the country every week. Things are tight. Let's just call it what it is. There's no reason to sugarcoat this. Things are tight. Inventory is low. Inventory is probably going to remain low for the foreseeable future. We're still seeing people flood into the industry, believe it or not. Last month, I'm anxious for a couple of days when I'll get the May numbers, but I know that in April there were an additional 10,500 people who joined the real estate business nationwide in net gain. We've got that going on. We have this constant fluctuation in interest rates, up, down, and sideways. We have no inventory, and so we have some stress in the marketplace. And I made this comment to a client last week, and I'm going to make it to you guys today, that if you're sitting there right now thinking, I'm going to wait for things to kick back in for me. We got Memorial Day out of the way now. I'm going to start getting those phone calls. Guys, there's just systemic pressure on a lot of different fronts in the industry. You're seeing commission pressures a lot from agents that are negotiating their fees on the front end. You're seeing a mentality among sellers that coming out of 2021 and 2022, there's more information out there through the online portals. We'll talk about that a little bit today. It's just kind of a redefining moment for me, quite honestly, when I look at the industry on a nationwide scale. Things are changing, and it didn't just start happening. It feels like it just started. It's been happening for 15 to 20 years. I'll lay out the reasons why today. To start it out, I'll just say this. It appears to me that right now we have the industry, right? The industry in and of itself is a big word, I know, but I'm talking the associations, NAR, state associations, boards, and whatever, they're here. We got the agents over here, and yet we have the consumers way over here on the third side. And I feel like that's what's playing out on a national scale. As the consumers have moved, the industry in and of itself is not going to really make any major move toward where the consumer is. Therefore, it's imperative that you as an agent, we as agents, make those moves. You're actually the only people that can make the move. And if we start putting things in line with where the consumer is and where, I'm going to lay out where I believe the consumer is going over the next two sessions, you will not only survive, but thrive this bit of a lull, downturn. I don't want to really call it a downturn because we still see multiple offers, but I think we would all acknowledge things feel a little bit differently right now. All right. So I'm going to talk to you about being proactive, because here's what I really believe has happened. I believe this marketplace that we are now in, and I would roll it all the way back to 2021, 2022, first half of 2023. Here's what it has exposed. It has exposed how reactive the vast majority of real estate agents are. It has exposed how when a marketplace is really great and people call and you meet them at a house and they want to buy it, you can make a lot of money. It is also exposed that when things get a little different, we're not really good at the proactive side of things, okay? So long-term success in any endeavor comes from being proactive, comes from practice, comes from honing your skills on a regular basis. We're going to talk today specifically, like if there's like a missing link of the missing link of proactivity, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's the line in the sand. It's the thing that we all intellectually know we should be doing, and yet for some reason we either don't have the time, energy, money, something to go do it. And I know this on a nationwide scale. I was just on the East Coast 2 weeks ago. I ask the same set of questions every time. I'll ask them to today, and I'll get the same answers. Is that there's a piece of this business that we're just not fortifying, and I'll show you why that's so important to you. So with that rather long opening, let's talk about the missing link of proactivity. So I don't know who said this quote, but it's a great one. There's a voice inside of you that whispers all day long, what's right for you. Just listen to the voice speaks inside. This is a huge issue in our industry. There's a way, my work for the last 25 years has been trying to understand the business of someone's dreams, then the reality of where they are, and then the work that I do on a daily basis, the work that we all do, if you think about it, is trying to help people manifest the situation of their dreams, fully acknowledging where they really are. This is the work that I do with my clients. This is the work that brokers do with agents. This is the work that as an agent you do with the public. I want to move to the house of my dreams. I need someone to help me get from where I am, the reality of the house that I live in, and get to the house of my dreams. Now what this means is there's a lot of different ways to skin this cat as a real estate agent. You got to get dialed into the thing that the way you want to do this and model that out and then start taking action, because that's just a key part of life. Steve Jobs said, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. I would tell you that as a real estate agent, because there are so many possible pathways, there's really no reason for you to do things that you don't want to do. There are big buckets of business that you need to capitalize on, but then how you do that gets into the subtle nuances of the business. I think Colin Cowherd, and you've heard me say this quote so many times because I just think it's so apropos. Most people go through their whole life and never get leverage, and that's sad, but what's worse is when you have leverage and you don't use it. And I will tell you that if you're good at this, you have huge leverage points. But I know from traveling the country, we're not leveraging the leverage point that we actually have. It's what we're going to talk about today. So here's something to think about, right? We're in the middle of a technological revolution, not only in our industry, but in our lives. And yet, the average income per agent never goes up. The average number of transactions never goes up. In fact, it's actually gone down, right? Because we don't have that many more transactions going on. We just have that many more realtors fighting over the same number of transactions. It's not like the public goes, oh, there's a lot of realtors now. I think I ought to sell my house. We need to send these people some money. And the average number of hours that an agent works has not decreased. I was on a call this morning with someone talking about a recruiting meeting they had, and it just struck me that the agent they were talking to said, my kids are gone, and I'm finally in a situation where I'm willing to work 70, 60, I think they said 50 to 60 hours a week and 7 days a week. And I'm like, wow, that struck me that that's what you think the rules of this thing are, right? I have never believed that. If you've been around me at all, you know I don't believe that. It's about becoming more effective in the hours that we work. It's not about throwing more hours at this thing. So what trends had the most impact on real estate in the last 10 years? Online information portals, no doubt about it. The ability for the consumer to go online, and now they're used to going online, and it's throughout everything that we purchase. But online information portals have absolutely changed this industry. It was changing it for a long time, but we didn't really realize it. We didn't have to acknowledge it. We kept doing that. We have kept doing the things we were doing. And now I think that's the stress and the tension that a lot of people feel is now I don't know what to do about it. So what's the goal of third parties, right? And we can name them. It's the Zillows, the Trulias, the OpCities, the HomeLights, the Ideal Agents, the Z Buyers, you name it. It's all these third parties, right? what is the ultimate goal of the third parties and what is the ultimate goal of technology? It not only in real estate, it's in any endeavor. In real estate, it's to make it transactional. It's to make this a transactional deal that I can garner the same customer experience online as I can garner with the real estate agent. What happens when things become transactional? They become cheaper. This is the goal of the third party. The goal of the third parties, the goal of the Zillows and whatever, is to have this be an online experience. So what must your goal be? That's to maintain the relationships with the people you have. To me, it's that black and white, guys. To me, it is that black and white. You have got to, and I will preach this until they put me in the ground. Relationship trumps everything. But what we have been able to do as an industry is kind of mail it in on the relationship side and still do tons of business by referral. And the bottom line was, the only reason we were able to do that was it was like, here's what we're doing as a real estate community. You have to deal with us because we have the information. Yeah, it's not that great for you. We know, but it's what we're selling today. And now the public, they're not saying it, but by all of the actions, by all of the numbers, by the stats, are telling us, yeah, I don't have to put up with it anymore. I don't have to go deal with an agent that's not great. And that's where our work has to be. What's your biggest challenge in achieving your goals? Whatever your goal is, whatever that business of your dreams. By the way, in our industry, this is pretty simple. All you have to bring to the table is want to. What do you want to go do? Right? It's as you've heard me say before, it's what Bob Proctor, it's a question Bob Proctor asked me in 1996 for 52 straight weeks. What do you want? Well, what do you want to go do? And you have to know what you want to go do. Because once you define what it is you want to do, and it doesn't have to be realistic, people will align themselves with you to try to help you get it. I've always said, a gentleman that I've known for a long time named Mike White, his famous line was, I'll back you up to your chest caves in. I'll bend over backwards to try to help you. You're one of the few people that actually know what you want to go do. But the biggest challenge in getting there is being consistent. We know this. We've talked about this. Real estate salespeople are consistently the most inconsistent group of people on the planet. Consistency makes you proactive. Inconsistency makes you reactive. Inconsistency makes your business go like this. When we all want our businesses to go like this, you can always tie it back to lack of consistent action. So why do we not take consistent action? Because so many people are trying to do things that they don't really enjoy doing. Why not design a business model around what you like? And if we go through all of the possible techniques of generating real estate business, and you decide you don't like any of them, like you like none of them, well, this is just simply the wrong career for you. And that should be okay. Because there's no reason to beat your head against the wall trying to do something you don't like to do. Because you'll only take consistent action on what you believe in, is in tune with your core behavior, and you're equipped to do. You'll try a lot of different things, right? You won't consistently do it. This is why I personally don't like accountability programs. I just need someone to hold me accountable. No, you need a business model that you enjoy, because then you don't need somebody to hold you accountable. Balthasar Gracian said, only when one has mastered self can one begin to master anyone or anything else. And yet as a society, we try to master everybody else rather than just working on ourselves. I mean, what's that called? That's that quiet voice inside you telling you what you need to be what you need to be doing. Decide that's how you're going to go do it. Find someone that can help you. More importantly, find someone that's already done it that way, because I will guarantee you they're out there. And then let's start down that path. The challenges are you'll only take action on what you believe in and you're equipped to do. We get it intellectually, but not behaviorally. We understand all the things that we need to do. We shouldn't eat as much sugar. We shouldn't smoke cigarettes. We shouldn't drink a lot of alcohol. We should exercise every day. We should get enough sleep. We get it. But then the behavioral side kicks in. It's a gap, right? It's the IB gap, the gap between what we know intellectually and what behaviorally what we go do. And then what happens is we only make the behavioral change when it's fight or flight and when our back is to the wall. And I'm watching this play out across the country. Agents are a lot of agents out there, hopefully not anybody on these sessions, but a lot of agents out there are thinking, this thing's going to turn around. It's going to turn back to me. This is what I've always done. It's always worked before. It'll always work again. I don't think that's the case, guys. I really don't. There are certain core things that are still going to be in play, but the manner in which we do things has to change. You learned everything you know about goal setting by the third grade, and that was just simply, you're at point A, you want to get to point B. What's the quickest way? It's a straight line, which means don't dabble in a whole bunch of stuff. If you want to be really proactive, you're gonna at some point turn into a broken record, right? You're gonna realize that this is what works for me. I consistently do it. Therefore, I just need to stay on my path. I need to stay in my lane. And there are no unrealistic goals, just lack of a plan. Okay, you can tell me I want to go from brand new agent to making $1 million a year net. I can model it out for you. The question is, do you have the resources? Are you willing to do the work to be able to get there in 12 months? And it's either yes or no. But we know people have gone from 0 to $1 million in 12 months. This is why I've always had this hardwired belief that success in this industry has nothing to do with the number of hours you work. Because if it did, there wouldn't be people working a ton of hours making less than 6 figures, and there wouldn't be people making millions of dollars working less than 40 hours a week. And both of those things are in play. So if you want to improve, you just got to be willing to change. And what happens to us, this turned into more of the beginning of this is more of a goal setting mindset thing than anything else, but it's crucial. What happens to us is, instead of constantly looking at how we're going to improve, we wait till I get our back to the wall. We wait till the pressure gets up. We wait till the water starts boiling, and then we're like, oh, I'm going to need to change something. Well, that's the wrong time. Just as it's always been said, and it's so true, when's the worst time to prospect? When you need business. That's the worst time. And yet it's the only time people do it. The only time people get proactive is when I have to, when I'm forced to be proactive. If you really want true success, you're proactive on a daily basis. 2 outcomes of learning. This is rampant in our industry. Learning to know, right? Where you just go to every training class, you got every designation known to man. You just know a lot of stuff about real estate. You can talk a good game, as opposed to learning to be, which is knowledge, which leads to action. So I only need the knowledge and the things I'm going to go take action on. That will lead to results. I will create habits around that. I will ultimately master those habits. I'll be confident because I've mastered the habits, and I'll take more effective action. And then when I want to take even more effective action, what do? I have to go back to the top again. Real estate is not about an understanding of the basics. We all get the basics. It's about mastering them. We're going to talk about, some of you may drop off now. He's like, oh, God, he's going to talk about past client systems. Guys, listen. Past client and referral systems are the line in the sand for you. Because of the power and the money that the third parties are continuing to invest, their whole goal is to get between you and your people. And they're doing it. They're effectively doing this. Zillow has come out now and said that they're going to start in testing this out. They've already tested it out in a few markets. They're not going to have the Premier Agent program anymore. They figured out that they're going to get more money on 30 to 35% referral fees off people that can actually convert the leads. Then they'll ramp up the bombers, and they'll get even more people to go into Zillow. Google has done this on the listing side. We're going to have a class on that in a few weeks. Past client and referral systems are the key, the cornerstone, the starting block for every person's business. And yet, in my travels, I know. I feel like I'm preaching today. I guess I kind of am. And yet, I know that we are not maximizing this play. We're not. And we have to. Being professional and providing strategy, it's always important, but it doesn't always matter. It didn't matter in 2021. It didn't matter mid-year 22. Now it matters. Oh, does it matter? It matters more than it ever has. I've been doing this 35 years. Being professional and having strategies for your clients matters now more than it ever has in this industry. Here's why. This comes from the National Association of Realtors. The average agent has been doing this 8 years. That means that the average real estate agent in the United States has never seen a down market. Number two, 70% of agents are gone in their first 18 months. They get in, they thought it was a side hustle, and it was. They ran through their friends, and 18 months later, they leave because they never really learned what they needed to learn. Oh, by the way, 87% don't make it 5 years. That number used to be 83%. Now it's 87%. And the average homeowner is living in their house 13 and a half years now in the United States. So if I'm living in my house 13 and a half years and 87% of the agents are gone after 5 years, I can't call my agent back. My agent has left the industry. Actually, 2 cycles of realtors statistically have left the industry while I've been living in my house. So what's my move that I'm going to make? What am I going to do? I want a real estate agent. I'm either going to be referred to a real estate agent or I'm going to go online to find a real estate agent. And what we're going to talk about the rest of the day is the referral side of it. Here's the numbers, right? Here's the number of agents contacted before selecting one to assist your home. Between 80 and 82%. They only talk to one person. Now in 2021, here's an interesting stat. In 2021, 89% of the people said they definitely or probably would use their agent again. And in 2022, that dropped to 85%. Now that is not a huge move, but it's something I'm going to start watching now, right? 89% of the people in 21 said they'd use their agent, dropped 4 percentage points in 2022. What does that mean? I think that's the online, right? That's the online portals starting to get some traction. This is why J.P. Morgan gave a vote of confidence to Zillow particularly, so they were going to give them some more money, right? You'll notice on this one, 7% of the people said probably or definitely would not use their agent again. That's up 1% and 2%. So there's some trends that I'm seeing. And, you know, I like stats, right? And stats are one thing, but then doing something about the stats is something else. How did they find their agent? First time a repeat seller in 2022, 36% of the time it was referred by or is a friend, neighbor, or relative. 27% of the time they'd use the agent again, right? Now go back, here we go, right? 85% of the time they said they'd probably use you again. 80-ish% of the time they're only talking to one person. But only 27% of the time do they use their agent again. Partly that's because the agents are gone that they use. But more importantly, how do we position ourselves to pick up those people from the agents that were in the business, sold them a house, and then left? Right? That's the part of the business that we need to be working on, right? So it's a two-pronged attack. One is to get the referrals that we're talking about today, and the second part is to get in flow with what these people are doing, which we're going to talk about in the next session. On the buy side, it's pretty much the same, right? 42% of buyers were referred. 11% used their agent before. On first-time buyers, it's 52% were referred. And then 2022 membership survey, business through referrals, only 23% was the median number in residential. So just process this. You have people saying, I'm only going to talk to one person. I would probably use my person again, statistically. I don't use my person again. And then realtors are only doing 23% of their business by referral. how much more business could be garnered by really having a solid referral system. So the big question is, if I'm one of your people, right, I'm one of your guys, how often do I hear from you and in what manner? I ask this question literally across the country. And I have always asked this question of agents when I do an agent presentation. 2 weeks ago, I was in Pennsylvania, Connecticut, and New Hampshire on a trip up the East Coast. I asked this exact question, and I had people raise their hands. Raise your hand, I said, if I'm one of your people and I hear from you more than 24 times a year, and not one hand went up. And these were nice events. This wasn't like 3 people I was talking to. Not one hand went up. I did not expect one hand to go up. It is rare to see a hand go up. So again, I'm going to go back to the NAR thing. You got them saying I would refer people to you, but I don't. But if I hear from you more than 24 times, then you were good and you stayed in touch, right? How about 18 times if I'm one of your people? Am I hearing from you 18 times? I don't ever get any hands on 18 times either. At 12 times a year, I will start seeing people raise their hands. At 6 times a year, I'll get more, but there will still be, in every session that I ever do live with agents, there will still be people who 24, 18, 12, and 6 never raise their hand, not one time. And the fact is that 12 times a year will not keep your people your people. Now, why is that? That's because of the power of online. Guys, this is again, I feel like I'm preaching evangelical, whatever you want to say. This is a big, big deal. It is what the third parties and the portals are counting on, is that you all won't do this. And only you can do it, right? Only the agents in the field can shore this up. Truth is, you can be really nice to people and never build a referral-based business. And we all know it's the best business to have. You can be really good at what you do and never build a referral-based business. You can actually be really nice to everybody and really good and never build a referral-based business, because the third piece, the third leg of the stool, is you have to stay in touch. And we don't do it. And I've now discovered in conversations and work, and it's a small business issue. It is not in any way, shape, or form a real estate specific issue. It is a small business issue. You can be really good at what you do. You can be nice to me, but if I don't hear from you, it is very easy for someone else to get in that is good and nice and start to kind of erode that business model. It happens all the time. The relationship model is about 3 issues. Number 1, it is smaller databases of people, not bigger ones. Oh, it is small. Let me say this again. It is smaller databases. It is not larger ones. It is being able to sort and resort and deepen relationships with people. Number 2, it's about increasing the number of contacts to a smaller group of people and making them feel special. And number 3, it's about higher quality contacts. I just saw a post the other day about, as realtors, do you really think I want more recipes? Oh, I think it came from, I think, Keeping Current Matters, where they said, I need to get recipes for cookies from my dentist, not from my real estate agent. So we got to up the quality of our contacts. For years, we've suffered from what I've always called database creep. Your goal is to build and fortify relationships with people, and you cannot do it with a huge number of people. You cannot make people feel special. That is, golly, that's the key to this. And it takes time, and it takes energy, and it takes effort, and it takes us doing things that don't come naturally to us as salespeople. The law of category, from a great book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. The law of category says if you can't be number 1 in a category, create a category you can be number 1 in. And they drive it home with 3 simple questions. Who was the first person to fly solo across the Atlantic? And Sadly, most people don't even know this anymore because it's irrelevant to our lives, but it was a guy by the name of Charles Lindbergh. Most people have heard of Charles Lindbergh. He was the first person to fly solo. So who was the second person to fly solo across the Atlantic? I should offer like $100 bill to anybody that can answer this question. His name was Bert Hinkler. And he did it faster than Lindbergh, and he used less fuel than Lindbergh, and nobody cared. Who was the third person to fly solo across the Atlantic? Well, that was Amelia Earhart. Now, what in the world does this have to do with real estate? When it says create a category, because she was a new category, right? She was a lady. She flew across, and I would contend that had she not been the first lady to fly solo across the Atlantic, when her plane crashed wherever it did, nobody really would have cared. I mean, they would have cared, but not all these years later, the lady we never found. Why did we even care? I could play this out with you with the name Oscar Pistorius, who was the Blade Runner in the Olympics, with various people throughout history, right? So what does this have to do with anything? It has to do with this. What's the category you can resoundingly be number one in? What's the category you can resoundingly convert leads in? Your past clients. It's your referral sources. And yet, we spend inordinate amounts of money chasing new people as opposed to taking that same revenue or that same expense number and burrowing in with the people that we already have. The business bullseye is what it amounts to, right? So we have the general public. They don't know you. They don't like us as an industry. Value is one created by marketing and response time. And if you don't answer your phone every time it rings with the general public, what will they do? They'll just move on to somebody else. Well, better than that are your acquaintances. Now they know you and like you, and given the chance they'd use you, but you know what? Given the chance, they'll use somebody else too. These are the people that you sold them a house a few years ago, and you go by, it's like, oh my gosh, somebody else's sign is in the yard. That would be an acquaintance. Better than that, now that's your network. They know you and like you, and they may or may not refer people to you, but they will always use you. Some people are not wired by the way they are wired, the client. They're not wired to send you referrals. But once we do business with someone, if we decide we like them, they should never leave our network, guys. It shouldn't even be an issue. If we're doing the protocols properly and we're in flow with people, they're never going to deal with anybody else. In fact, when someone else gets into the business, they would say the dialogue for them would be, good luck in the real estate business, but I would never do a deal without Wayne. Or I just got off a call with Jeff Peters, and Jeff said he had somebody call him over the weekend, and they said, hey, Jeff, look, we went in this open house. We want to buy this house. We already told them we're working with you. We wouldn't think of doing a transaction without you, right? That's a pretty high-level deal. But the question would be is this: are they also advocates for you? They know you. They like you. They want to deal with you. They will always deal with you, and they will stop traffic for you. So the game is to try to take everyone and take them to the advocate level, fully acknowledging not everyone will go there because that's how they're wired. But I will tell you this: when you have a closing and you have a client, that moment in time, they're an advocate for you. You did a great job. You solved their problems in the real estate transaction. They are an advocate for you. If someone called them the next day, they would give them your name. And in some cases, at an advocate level, they would actually say, let me just call the person, right? Let me just call my agent right now. They were so wonderful. Here's what we know. This has just been proven over the years. Over an amount of time, they'll move from being an advocate to being in your network. Over a longer period of time, they'll become an acquaintance. And over a longer period of time, they'll become the general public, and they'll go back out to the Zillows, the OpCities, the Trulias, and whatever else you want to name. This is the business game. Plain and simple, this is all revolves around relationships. Absent relationships, I will shop price. We will all shop price absent relationships. So the bottom line is be good, be nice, and stay in touch. Take one of those three things out of the equation, guys. Take one of the three out, and your business starts going like this. Take 2 of the 3 out, your business starts going like this. Take all 3 out and you're out of the business. Pretty simple. I mean, it's so simple, sometimes I guess we miss it, right? So here's what I want you to do. This is the program. This is the program that I personally implemented 20 plus years ago. And call me old school, I don't really care. It worked. It'll still work. People that do it, it still works for them. Now, the methodologies are a little different than what I did back then, but I'm going to show you what I did. Number one, reduce your database down to only those people you know, you like, and you want to deal with again. When you see someone's name on a file or however you're doing this, right? Maybe you don't even have a database. Maybe you got a shoebox. Maybe you got index cards. I really personally don't care. But when you see their name, it conjures up all these horrible memories of them and how nasty and rude they were. Just delete them, please. Just get rid of them. Now, this says send out your first mailing, and we're going to send you copies of all these letters and the survey and all of that. Okay? We will send them to you on Friday. I should say we'll send them to your broker host. So if you don't get them from your broker host, you need to reach out to your broker host and get them from them. There was a mailing that went out. This was how I winnowed my database down. I had 1,450 people in my database. As my database grew, the quality and timeliness of my contacts continued to diminish. And I was like, I got to figure something out. So I eliminated through this process. I got down to the people that really knew me, really liked me, and really wanted to deal with me. So you send a mailing out with a survey and you ask them to send it back. You can use email should you choose. It's not as effective, to be really honest, as using the mail. People have better success using mail, but that costs money. I get it. But the bottom line is we got to do something to get these people to take a step towards you. Send a thank you note to those who returned the first mailing. I sent a crumpled up version of letter 1. When you see the letter, you'll see why, because it says I'm sure that the first letter I sent you ended up looking something like the one that I have, like the one that's attached, which means you threw it in the trash can. But I'm doing it again. Please fill out my survey and send it back. We're going to send people to dinner. That's what the letter references. If you just fill out my survey and let me have some more information, I'm going to make it cool for you. I'm going to send you to dinner. And after 2 rounds of letters, now you know who your guys really are. I think we've laid out for you before, and I'll give you the math again. Take the number of people in your database times 5 times 5%. That's how many transactions you should be doing strictly by referral. Client survey should be part of every contract packet and every listing packet moving forward. You should just ask them to fill it out, just like your doctor does. Just like your doctor, here's the information we have. Let us know if anything has changed, right? And we all sit there and fill it out in the doctor's office. We have to put those same kind of protocols in place for our businesses. It's huge. It's massive. Now we have to reposition ourselves in a lot of cases. So 6 weeks in a row, you got to send them something. Maybe you've just changed companies. That, by the way, people are like, oh, I'm afraid to change companies because I'm fearing my business would suffer. No, if you do this right, you moving to a new company actually is a jump start for your business. It gives you the perfect reason to reach back out to your people. Maybe it's a book list, maybe it's inspirational. It doesn't, honestly, it doesn't really matter what it is. But it's 6 weeks in a row, I'm going to fortify this relationship with these people. You've got to bring value to the table. So you've got to become a student of the game and give your clients information they would not otherwise have access to. That's why we brought Bowen Belmer on not too long ago to talk about interest rates and his projections, right? There were some great slides that came out of that. You should subscribe to Inman News, Realty Times, the Wall Street Journal, Realtor.org. Keeping Current Matters. You should read a lot about the real estate industry, guys. You have to. It's just crucial. Another one would be National Real Estate Post. They just had a deal that came out today where I learned that State Farm Insurance is, as of May the 27th, no longer going to write property and casualty coverage in the state of California. That was a really interesting thing. Now, 12 times a year, they need to hear something from you, right? Every month, this is the minimum standard, right? 12 times a year. Talk about your marketplace, inspirational stories. Don't talk just real estate stuff, right? Client of the month for the most referral, tip of the month, personal information. You can buy this. This is like the Buffini program, right? Items of value. That's good, but you've got to take it now to the next level. If they filled out the client survey, one of the questions on there is your birthdays. Start sending birthday cards out to everybody. Pick a holiday other than Christmas. And the only reason I say other than Christmas is everybody gets a Christmas card. You can send a Christmas card, but do another one on some kind of off holiday that not that many people send out cards. All we're doing is trying to get the number of touches up. That's all it is. Thinking of you cards and calls, 8 touches a year. Hey, I was just a quick note, right? Sharpie marker is your friend. I mean, I've got some see the field note cards, right? I was thinking of you today. Hope you're well, Wayne. That's it. That's all you have to send. Thank you for the referral you just sent me. I'll take great care of the people. Send it. Cards and calls, right? Here's the math of it. We all have time to do this. All have time to do this, and yet we don't. But intellectually, we know we should, but we don't. That's the gap that we've got to. That's the gap that we've got to bridge. The IB gap. Telephone calls 4 times a year, right? If you have a network of 100 people, you only got to call 2 people a day. You can just leave them a voicemail. Hey, I was just thinking about you today. I drove by your house. Everything looks awesome. You could actually really like drive by 2 of your clients' houses theoretically every day and just say, hey, your house looks great. Love what you did. Or if their house doesn't look great, you could just call and say, hey, I drove by your house today and I was thinking about you. Hope all is well. Have a great day. Right? This is the proactive, grinded out work. That is at some level boring and not sexy. You won't see a lot of videotapes about this or whatever, right? You really want to knock it out of the park? And I could go down the rabbit hole of a true case study about this, but you really want to knock it out of the park, guys, here's what you need to do. Start a closed Facebook group for your past clients and referral sources. I've talked about this before. You've got to do this. It is a huge, huge add-on that generates a tremendous amount of referrals. Okay? Start a closed Facebook group for your people, right? So let's say that you send out the letters, you winnow your group down, and you start a closed Facebook group for those people. This is an easy way for you to engage everybody at once, right? Not for everybody. It's just closed for your past clients and referral sources. And what happens is they start interacting with each other. You want to become the hub of the wheel for all things real estate as it relates to your past clients and referral sources. Here's an example. This is the cover page. Ryan Lerma in Yukon, Oklahoma. He started Lerma's Click. Ryan does a tremendous amount of business off of a relatively small group of people, but he is deeply engaged with those people. Every time he sells a house to someone new, he makes an introductory post in there, welcome them to the Click. There's people now in there that are saying, hey, I need help with this. Does anybody have that? And people will jump in and say, well, here's my guy. Maybe you ought to use them. It is a simple way, by the way, a free way for you to stay in flow with your people. So if you haven't started a closed Facebook group, please do. Please start a closed Facebook group. Tony, I don't have a picture of it, but Tony Isa in Angola, Indiana, a client of mine, he has a closed Facebook group as well called the Isa Connection. This is a big deal, guys. This will help fortify your referrals. And again, the referral piece of this thing is the cornerstone of everybody's business. Make sure you're maximizing this play before you start doing the other things that we will talk about in the coming weeks. And then reward action. Every time you receive a referral, send them a thank you note. And I would do it with a restaurant gift certificate. Personally, I did exactly what's on here. Strike a deal with a local restaurant. You only have to pay for gift certificates that are actually redeemed. The amount of money is not the important issue. The surprise factor is. Now, having said that, I'm going to say something else. The amount of the certificate can bite you if it's really, really small. I know the person that this happened to, that they got like a $500,000 referral and they sent them a $5 Starbucks, and the lady was like, I just sent you a $500,000 referral and you gave me a $5 Starbucks. So be somewhat sensitive to that. It's if you can pull this off, that you only have to pay for the ones that are actually redeemed, that's awesome. Okay. Does it have to be a local restaurant? We've also done stuff with spas before and things like that. Just something to give them a little extra. You do not wait for the referral to pan out before you reward it. You thought enough of me to give my name to somebody. Thank you so much. Okay. If you, with the way gift certificates have evolved and they have to be loaded and scanned, you might not be able to only pay for the ones that are redeemed, but you probably can strike a, $600 worth of gift certificates for $500 or whatever. But go to a local restaurant. Do not go to a chain and try to do this, because they won't do it. Okay. Keep a spreadsheet of all the referrals you receive by the referring person, and then have a client party. Okay. If you're an individual agent, schedule it in October. There's a reason for that. Okay. There's two times you want to do this. You either want to do it in October, or you wanted to do it like in the last 2 months, right? Heading into the selling season. Okay. If you haven't already done, I know some people are doing one, I think this month, I think on the 10th, maybe some of my clients are having a client party. If you haven't already done it, this is October. That's optimal, because that gets people talking about it throughout the holidays, right? But have a client party. And you're probably thinking, the client party, God, it's going to be really expensive. Yeah, it is, but let's just do the math. Schedule the party for 2 to 3 hours on a weeknight. Don't do it on a weekend, okay? What we want to have happen, quite honestly, is we want to invite everybody, but we don't want everybody to show up, because it's going to cost you more, right? This will allow you to limit attendance just by the fact that it's on a weeknight, maybe a Thursday night. Invite everybody in your database. Each invitation has a slip of paper, a ticket, whatever you want to do for every referral that the person sent you during the year. Everybody has at least one slip. Okay, if you're in my database, you get a slip. You're in my database, you bought something or sold something with me, you get 2 slips. You sent me a referral to, you get 3 slips, and so on. Collect all the slips at the door. Have drawings for prizes during the night. Every 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how many drawings you're going to have. This is exactly the protocol that Tony Isa followed a few weeks ago in Indiana. Stop the band. I'll show you about the band in a second. And draw out a name for a prize. Start small. The prizes get bigger during the night. Perhaps it's oil changes, car washes. You can get this stuff donated, guys. You can have sponsors, small restaurant gift certificates, movie tickets, dinner, iPads, flat screen TV. I think Tony gave away a 75-inch flat screen TV. Brian Woodward in his office, they do this event called Paint and Pour. They had 275 people show up for it, by the way. They gave away, I think, 2 or 3 iPads that were donated, things like that. In other words, we're just going to give away some cool stuff. You got the cool stuff because you're one of our people. And then you have a grand prize. 30 minutes before the end of the party, draw out 5 names. Brian Woodward just did this. And have the clients come up on stage, put their names back in a hat, and now they don't want their name drawn. As you draw the names, the participants have to sit down. The last person standing wins, and make it something big. Trip to Vegas, a cruise. I think Woodward does a $3,000 travel voucher. They can go anywhere they want to. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, this would be so expensive. I don't have the revenue for this. Well, here's the interesting thing. Here's what. Some of these numbers may be off, but this would be a model that we could follow. $750 for a venue, $3,000 for food, $500 for a band, $2,000 for prizes, $2,500 for your grand prize. You're at $8,750. Gosh, Wayne, that's a lot of money for me to spend on my past clients. Well, it's really $729 a month. And I know a lot of people that are spending $729 a month buying leads, right? Buying leads, like literally writing a check for $729 or more a month to buy Zillow leads or play in this arena or that arena, or for Facebook marketing and all these things. Stop it. I'm just here to tell you, stop it. Take that money, keep the spend up, take that money, start investing it in your past clients and watch what happens. Because if Brian Woodward's on here, maybe he'll make a comment, or anybody from his office. They are generating so much business from referrals that it's crazy. It's using the model that I laid out, and I know I laid this out for you a few weeks ago. The number of people times 5 times 5%. Their operation is at a 95% efficiency in that model. So just take the number of people that you think you have, right? You have 200 people times 5 is 1,000 times 5% is 50 transactions by referral. They are operating at that level. If you're not, what we've laid out today is the reason why. So just remember to be consistent. Implement a system and stick to it. Consistently contacting your people, whether it's mail outs, whether it's emails. Here's the thing that we know. It doesn't matter what the format of your contact to your past clients is and your referral source. It doesn't matter what the format is. What matters is that it's consistent and it's varied. It's not 30 emails a year. It's not 30 pieces of mail a year. You've got to come at them different ways because different things are going to hit people differently. But the more that we do this, the more advocates we have, the more referrals we have. And trust me when I say the more income we have. Because we never did this as an industry. This is the reason that the third-party portals have been able to get the foothold they've been able to get. If we don't stop this, if y'all don't stop this as individual agents, it's not going to be good for the industry. It's just not. So that's why I wanted to start this, and you have to be proactive and you have to be consistent. And there's a lot of like stuff you have to do before you actually implement. And I know we're salespeople. We don't like routine, mundane stuff. I say this to my clients all the time about agents' databases. Nobody likes it. I mean, if you're a good salesperson, you don't like sitting down and entering data into a database. And yet in everything that breeds consistency, there's some routine, mundane things that have to be done in the beginning. All right, so the next session is going to be on June the 14th, going to be Missing Link Part 2. And I've titled that one, Injecting Yourself into the Market. Okay, so we have to, and I'll lay this out for you in 2 weeks. Number one, shore up your past client systems. What a lot of you will find is if you're maximizing that play, that may be all of the revenue that you ever wanted to do in this business. A lot of times people are sitting on the business that they say they want to do. Okay, but if there's a disparity there, now we got to go inject ourselves into the market. So I'm going to give you the strategies of leveraging every piece of your business all the way through. That'll be in 2 weeks on June the 14th. There's our contact information. You can always contact either Maddie at admin@stfconsult.com or myself. That is my phone number. Feel free to reach out to me, call me, text me, whatever you want to do. You can go to waynefrederick.com and get some free stuff as always. And with that, I want to thank you guys so much. We're going to open up for questions if we have any. And I really appreciate you guys hanging in there with me today. I noticed nobody left, so that's cool. So maybe we've resonated with some people. But does anybody have any questions?
As Wayne mentioned before, you're always welcome to enter your question in the chat or the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and we'd be happy to let you ask your question yourself.
Okay, I guess we don't have any questions today. Oh, now we do.
Someone wanted to know if you could go back to the Facebook page. So those closed Facebook groups, I'm guessing. Says the one with the services they offer.
I'm sorry?
It says the one with the services they offer. It may be, I think it was one of the slides with Lerma's Click where people are asking, oh, I'm needing someone for XYZ.
Yeah, I actually have screenshots, but I didn't put them in today. So what ends up happening is there specifically was one on there in November where a gentleman said, "Does anyone have anybody to help with hanging Christmas lights?" And Ryan jumped in and said, "Hey, here's my guy. You can call them." And there were a couple of other clients that said, "Hey, here's who I use for Christmas lights." Right? Originally, this concept pre-Facebook was part of the mailing touches that we would tell agents to do, where you would have a client that I remember specifically, Donna Hartman had a client that was a fence, the guys that spray your privacy fence, right, and refurbish your privacy fence. And she went to him and said, "Would you give my clients a discount?" He said, "Absolutely." So they did a certificate that she mailed out to her clients and said, "Hey, this guy's one of my clients as well. If you're thinking about having your privacy fence refurbished, here's a discount because you're one of my people," right? So great deal for this guy. He gets in front of people he wouldn't have before. It's a great touch for Donna and great value to her clients. That's the kind of things you want to be thinking about. Any other questions?
Someone would like to know if they can add you, I believe, on Facebook. You're welcome to.
Add me where?
I'm guessing maybe friend you on Facebook.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah.
Oh, to a closed group. They'd like to know if they can add you to a closed group.
Oh, yeah. I'm a member of Ryan's closed Facebook group and Tony's. Absolutely. Yeah. Love for you to. Just send me the invite. I'll join. I promise.
We have another one that says, so it sounds like you're saying monthly mailers to our farm areas are not as effective. We do your other recommendations already and are going to do more. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you that whatever you're doing, if you're only doing it 12 times a year, guys, it's not enough. And today, it used to be enough. I mean, it did. It used to be enough. When I got in the real estate business, granted, it was a long time ago. I'll be the first to admit it. But it was like flags on the 4th of July and, pumpkins at Halloween and pies, which a lot of us still do the pie thing. And it was recipe cards. And that was enough. It's not enough anymore. It's got to be timely information. And that's why you have to go out and garner these things. And you want to get the touches up. I mean, honestly, if you're in Woodward's operation, there's 36 touches a year. 12 just stock monthly mailers. And the other 24 touches are around these. They do 4 client events a year. They do the big event, kind of like the model that I laid out for you. And then they'll bring an ice cream truck or a snow cone truck into their parking lot and just invite everybody to stop by on a hot day and have a snow cone. They do the pie thing that so many realtors now do. And then they do a Santa Claus event, which a lot of people do as well. But what they're doing in this particular operation is there's a tremendous amount of communication and touches around those events. And when they do that, they get upwards of 36 touches a year. If you're, again, guys, if you're really good at what you do and you're really nice to people, the only missing link is they just don't think of you. And that's on us, right? That's on us to do that. So there you go. But yeah, please add me to your Facebook groups if you have one. I think everybody on this call should have a closed Facebook group. Anyone else? All right. Guys, I appreciate you very, very much. I'm going to get back to the last slide. So if you don't have the information, you can write it down. There we go. Thank you. If you have any more questions between now and the next session, please reach out. Be happy to try to help you.
We have a couple coming through here, Wayne. One says, we mail post sales and new available. Do we discontinue this? We just held a very successful customer appreciation event, and this will generate calls.
Wait, what was the first part of that, Maddie?
We mail post sales and new available. Do we discontinue this?
I wouldn't discontinue it, but I wouldn't make it the only thing that you're doing. This is why you have to become a student of the game. This is why you have to subscribe to the things that I subscribe to. You know, somebody asked me not so long ago, how do you come up with all this stuff? I said, I just read a lot about the real estate industry. I read a lot about business, and I try to see how it applies to real estate. Y'all need to be doing the same thing. Any other questions?
I think that's it.
Okay. Guys, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. You're the best. Have a great day, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.